Welcome back to this lesson. In this lesson, we are still on the JavaScript array const. So in the last lesson, we've been able to see different ways by which you can encounter errors when working with the const keyword if you do not understand the scope and the jurisdiction of what to take note when working with it. So we're able to see how it cannot work outside of the scope, how it cannot be reassigned, but how the element of an array can be changed even with the const keyword, but not the array itself. So in this lesson, let's take a look at some interesting parts about const keyword, and that is going to be the difference between the const keyword and the global var keyword, which was what people used in the early years or in the early time of JavaScript that produced a lot of inconsistency. So we are going to take a look at that in this video. So now, redeclaring or reassigning an array to constant in the same scope or in the same block is not allowed. So when you have an array in the same scope or in the same block, if you try to redeclare or you try to reassign it, it will not work. And what that means is this. So let me just pull up the code editor. Okay, so I'll take this out. This is good. Okay, now if you use var, I want to use this as an example so that you see the difference. To make what is this called? To make an array this way, you can decide that you want to reassign the values. Now, but before I do this, let me just show you the output so that you know that we are on the same page. Now, if you take a look at the value of my car, you see Volvo, BMW, Audi, and Mercedes. So now, if I try to redeclare the same car with var, now I want a different name. I don't want this name. Toyota, Honda, Nissan, Mazda. Now you can see that the value of the array has changed. That is how the var keyword used to work. So this is allowed back in the days in JavaScript. You can redeclare it, but it is not a recommended way of working with your array elements. Now you can as well go ahead and say, okay, you can even add something else. This one. Now you can see it. This is allowed as well. You can see that it keeps changing the value of that array. That is how var used to work. But now, if you now try to declare or assign the same array to constant in the same scope or in the same block, it will not work. So what that basically means is that I take the first two out. Now this is var. This is allowed. Now let's try to do the same thing with const. So I'll just change this to const. Now I have a constant array declare now. Then I'll make a code block like this. Let's do this. So this is var, and now let's now do const. Now you can see that here, outside, and here there's already a class of interest. Now, of course, this one will work because it's global, which is var. This first, the second car, this one will work, but this one is not allowed because I already have a duplicate of it outside. So this and this, it will not allow it, which means that I cannot redeclare or reassign an existing const array. If I try to do that, it will throw an error. So that is the issue with const keyword, and the difference between it and the var keyword. So in the same scope or the same block, you cannot redeclare or reassign it. It is not allowed. So if I even take this curly braces out and this out, now you can see that immediately this is going to give me an error. And you can see that, yeah, this is the rest could be an underboot. Cannot redeclare block scope variable. So this is it. So this is how you take note of when you try to work with const keywords to know when you should alter things and when you should leave things in order not to encounter error or issues in your program. Now, let's go back to the slide. Redeclaring or reassigning an existing const array in the same scope or in the same block is not allowed. That's the example we saw just now. Now, redeclaring an array with const in another scope or in another block is allowed. So, in what situation in what situation does const allow redeclaration or reassigning? Let's take a look at situations when that can be done in JavaScript. So the declaring array with const in another scope or another block is allowed. So if I have this, the car array, this is my car array, and now I have a block scope. And now I want to use the same thing that I have up there. Now, you can see that this is allowed because I am inside this scope. This one is not inside the scope, but this one is inside the scope. You can see that this does not throw any error. But if immediately I try to remove these curly braces, there will be problem. You can see it. So these are the instances. So let's say you want to use it here, or you want to work with it inside the scope. It will allow you to do it like this. But let's see if we try to change this. Let's try to reassign it to different value. So maybe like Toyota, Honda, and Nissan, and let's see what will happen. Now you can see that even though we are changing the element, JavaScript is still seeing the first thing that we have right there. But what if I put this one as cars 1? Definitely, it will give me the output. Cars 1 is not what? The second, let's inspect the error. I ran into an issue with it. Cars 1 is not defined. So, which means that I cannot access this outside of this block. So, everything I have here is only accessible inside this block. Once you are outside it, you cannot call it. If I want to call it, I will have to move this method inside it. See, this way. So this is when it will work. But as long as I'm outside it, it will never work. So that is how scope and blocks work with JavaScript const keyword. So this is allowed. You see, didn't throw any error. But then I can't access it outside of where it is. So if I have another one with curly braces like this, I can make it like this. Const car. Now you will see that this one too will not throw any error. It's allowed. But then I cannot access them outside of the scope, outside of that curly braces, which determines the scope of each of the array. So these are things that you should take note of when working with the const keyword, especially when it comes to array, for the fact that you see most of the time that it's a common practice to use the const keyword. So this const keyword is a bit technical and sometimes can be a little bit misleading, as you cannot be as to know when to change, the element of your array to add to, update, or when to just work with your array element using, using other methods that are available with workings with array, such as the push, the one we saw the other time. So understanding scope, understanding block, understanding jurisdiction matters a lot when working with const, so that you don't run into unexpected error or unexpected identifier issues in your JavaScript code. Thank you. And in the next lesson, we'll start another new topic. I'll see you then.